Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Workers' Rights Compliance Alliance. We expose workplace abuse, we tell workers' stories, and we fight for dignity on the job. Now, let me ask you a question. Would you believe Walmart once paid $65 million just so cashiers could have chairs? That's right. Across California, workers have fought and won landmark battles for something as basic as the right to sit while working. Today, we're going to walk through the real stories behind those cases. CVS, Bank of America, Safeway, Target, Walmart, AutoZone, and Ralph's. And by the end, you'll see why, when workers stand together, they win the right to sit. Our story starts at CVS. Cashiers were bagging items, scanning products, cleaning counters, all tasks that could be done sitting. But CVS had a strict policy. No chairs at registers. They wanted workers on their feet at all times because it looked more professional. Workers disagreed, and they took their case all the way to the California Supreme Court. In 2016, the court delivered a landmark decision. They ruled that seating depends on the task, not the overall job. If a task can reasonably be done sitting, then a seat must be provided. This decision changed everything. It became the foundation for every seating lawsuit that followed. Next up, Bank of America. Tellers stood behind counters for hours, waiting on customers, counting cash, processing paperwork. All work that could have been done seated. Workers sued, and after years of litigation, Bank of America agreed to a $15 million settlement. The three lead plaintiffs each received $25,000, while thousands of other employees shared the rest. But it wasn't just about money. The bank was forced to create a new seating policy, post notices in its branches, and inform employees of their rights. One teller summed it up perfectly. We weren't asking for luxury. We just wanted chairs. Now, let's talk about Safeway. Cashier Eva Sharp stood at the front of the store for years without a chair. She decided enough was enough, and she led an 8-year legal battle against the company. Finally, in 2019, Safeway agreed to a $12 million settlement. Eva herself received about $14,000, and more than 30,000 cashiers shared nearly $2 million. But the real victory? Safeway agreed to provide seating for at least 2 years. Eva's case showed that one determined worker backed by thousands of colleagues can take on a corporate giant and win. Target's case involved sheer scale. Over 90,000 cashiers in California claimed they were denied seating. Target settled for $9 million. Roughly 40% went to attorney fees, but workers still shared millions. This case mattered not just because of the money, but because it showed how widespread the issue really was. It wasn't just one company. It was an industry-wide practice to deny workers seats. And then came the biggest case of them all. Walmart. Nearly 100,000 cashiers stood at registers for years, despite the fact that the work could have been done sitting. Workers fought back, and in 2018, Walmart agreed to pay a staggering $65 million. Some employees received payouts as high as $25,000 each. And Walmart had to rethink its policies nationwide. This wasn't just a California story. It became a national headline. Proof that even the largest retailer in the world could be forced to treat its workers with dignity. Simply having a chair somewhere in the building isn't enough. Seats must be accessible, and workers must be allowed to use them. This case set a new standard. Real compliance, not corporate loopholes. But not every case ended in victory. At Ralph's grocery stores, cashiers argued they deserved seating, but the company pushed back, saying the job was nonstop. There was no downtime, no chance to sit. The court agreed with Ralph's. They ruled that in this specific environment, seating wasn't required. It was a setback for workers. And a reminder that these fights are never guaranteed. They take persistence, strong evidence, and dedicated legal support. Let's take a moment to appreciate the incredible bravery of the workers in these stories. They stood up for themselves, for their co-workers, and for countless customers who deserved better service from seated employees. Standing for hours on end is tough. These workers weren't just standing up for their rights. They were standing for their health, safety, and well-being. Standing for long periods can cause all sorts of physical problems. From back pain and leg cramps to more serious issues like varicose veins and increased risk of heart attacks, these brave workers knew that standing all day wasn't healthy, and they didn't just accept it, they fought back. But why did these companies agree to these massive settlements? Why give up millions when it seemed like they had the upper hand? Well, it comes down to the power of collective action. When workers stand together, they become a powerful force. It doesn't matter how big the corporation is. No company wants to deal with thousands of employees filing lawsuits or going on strike. It creates too much uncertainty and risk. Plus, it costs money to defend lawsuits and fight unions. It's much easier to reach a settlement than deal with a full-blown labor war. Imagine, for a moment, what these workers experienced. They worked hard every day, helping customers and keeping the stores running. But they weren't just seen as valuable employees. They were treated like numbers, cogs in a machine. Some workers had to stand for 10 hours a day. Imagine the toll that takes on your body and mind. And the worst part, when they asked for something as basic as a chair, they were denied. But these workers weren't silenced. They found strength in numbers, and they fought back. Here's the thing. It's not just about providing seats. It's about respecting workers. When you force someone to stand for hours on end, you're sending a message. You're saying their comfort and well-being isn't important. You're telling them to stay in their place. Literally. It's a form of control. But when you give workers seats, you're showing respect. You're recognizing their humanity. And guess what? It makes good business sense. Happy and respected employees provide better customer service. It's common sense. When workers are comfortable and valued, they take pride in their work. So here's what we learn from these stories. Workers have power. When they unite, they can take on big corporations and win. It's not easy. It takes courage, determination, and often legal help. But the results can be... These workers didn't just get seats. They got respect and dignity. As for the companies, they learned that treating workers fairly is not just the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do. Happy workers equal happy customers. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think of these stories? Have you ever worked in a similar environment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our latest videos. Together, we can continue to amplify these important stories and support workers' rights. Thanks for watching.